Hello, Pioneer Live Free or Die folks. Many of you have asked me questions about the scoring and how to use the tablets for the upcoming matches or general monthly matches. We're going to go do a little quick review on the units and how to use them. So hopefully that will answer many of your questions. If you have more, feel free to email us. This right here, we have the units in the Practa shades. We have an iPad. We have a battery pack, we have a cable, and then we have the Practice shade itself. There's a handle on the bottom of the Practice shades. Many of us kind of just like put your hand underneath. That way you can kind of hold it and make it easy. So if you get your tablet and it's not turned on, up top there's a home button. Press the home button. Then down here it's going to say slide to unlock. And now the iPad's open. They're all going to have a little Practiscore icon right here. That gets you into Practiscore. Now we can start scoring. So I'm going to try to do this the best I can. But if I have issues, I'm sorry. So scoring. What we're going to do is we're going to say enter scores. Each of the tablets is going to have a sticker on it, which is the stage that you'll be working or the stage that you'll be scoring. The only stages that should show are the stages that you are scoring. So if you notice this one says stage 1, stage 1. So we'll click on stage 1. Now we have all the squads. In short, in the beginning of the day, if you are starting on stage 1, you should have squad 101. If you're starting on stage 2, you should have squad 102. And then it will be 103, 104, 105 as the day progresses. So we're going to start off the day. We're in squad 101 for stage 1. We're going to click it. Here are all the shooters that are on that squad. For the Live Free or Die match, it's going to be very, very nice. You should have everybody there, but yeah, it's possible somebody doesn't show up. If they don't show up, don't worry about it. We'll take care of that. In the squad screen, one of the things you'll notice is a little arrow on the top right up here. If you click that, it's going to say choose short. We should have this pre-done for you. However, if it's not, I'm showing you how to get to it. I'm going to say sort by last name. And now everybody's sorted alphabetically by last name. Our suggestion and what we're going to do is if you are stage 1, the first shooter alphabetically by last name will be the first shooter. If you're on stage, say stage 6, you're going to count down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And that will be the first shooter for that day. This way everybody keeps a rotation, everybody kind of knows the shooting order, and the SOs and the scoring SOs have the list right in front of you. No need to write it on paper, no need to carry your cardboard cutout around. Sorted by last name, start by stage, alphabetically is your first shooter. So, we're not going to start with the first shooter on this one because I'm just not, because I've been playing with this a little bit. So I'm going to click Mr. Jim Butler because he just shot. And this is the scoring review screen. So in this screen, it has many things. It has the time, the targets, steal, any procedurals, if they got DQ'd, if they got DNF, and a review button. So this is the overall view of the scoring screen. The time, as soon as the time is called out, click on the time button. On this screen, you'll be able to enter the time. Of note, right here, auto decimal. I'd leave that checked because as you enter the time, you'll see what happens. So Mr. Butler shot this in 9.63 seconds. If you'll notice, the decimal point is automatically placed. If you don't do that, I'm going to uncheck it and we're going to go back, and he did it in 9.6. It's not letting me press. Looks like I can't change it once you start entering the scores. So we're going to say enter. 9.63 seconds. We'll go back to the auto decimal later. So targets 1 through 6. In this configuration, you press the plus or the minus to enter points down for the targets. This method works really well if the shooter is shooting nothing but down zeros. There's another method which we'll show in the next example. So if there was steel, which there are none in this particular one because it shows 0, you would enter the misses on steels. It automatically assumes hits. If they have hits on a non-threat, you just keep pressing how many hits on a non-threat they have. If they have any procedural errors, just how many procedurals. If they have a failure to do right or flagrant, remember those must be approved by the match director. So if you press those buttons, please let your match director know. And finger. So Jim had a horrible stage, but he's done. So we're going to hit the review button. This is the screen that the shooter sees. It reviews their raw time, the total penalties, the total points down, gives them the final time. Then it breaks it down into how many hits on a non-threat, how many procedurals, how many failure to do rights, how many flagrants, how many fingers. Make sure the shooter looks at these things because this is his score. If he doesn't like the fact that he got 6 hits on a non-threat because maybe you made a data entry error, it's possible. They're looking at it together. It's a teamwork thing. So once they've done, have the shooter hit approve. And now you'll notice that Mr. Butler now has a score over here. The next shooter is him. So what we're going to show you is the difference between the auto decimal and how to change the data entry for the targets. So up on the top right over here, you'll see a little keyboard. If you press the keyboard, it changed the whole screen. You'll notice I'm going to flop back and forth because it's a plus and minus now. So we're going to press back and forth. You'll notice as I press these, the right side over here disappears. Why does it disappear? It disappears so you can manually enter how many points down. So maybe on a standard stage where there's a possibility of them being down 26 points on each stage, each target, you don't want to press that plus button, 100 times for maybe 4 targets. So we'll do the time first. We'll shut off the auto decimal, make sure it lets me do this. So they did this in 21 seconds flat. You noticed I typed in 2100, but it gave me a score 2,100 seconds. That's a long time. I'm gonna say yes for right now. It actually gives me an error. It tells me, hey, you really entered a high time, double check it before continuous. I'm gonna say okay. So it allows me to put it in because that's 2,100 seconds. I'm gonna erase it and put 21.00. So he did it in 21 seconds flat. So you can see where the auto decimal, I kind of like it. Leaving it on helps it out because you just type in the 4 numbers, you don't have to press another button. It helps out through the day. So now onto the scoring the targets. You must press the target each time on this scoring method. So we're going to tap it. He was down 26 points in this one. Hit enter. You know, notice it shows 26 points. Into target 2, he was down 2. Target 3, he was down 0. Target 4, he was down 78. What the heck, why not? On target 5, he was down 2. Target 6, he was down 0. He had no procedurals, had no nothing. So we're going to hit review. You'll notice the whole review screen comes up. It has the raw times, it has the points down, final time, and no procedurals. Make sure your shooter hits the approve button. So now let's assume that, hey, you made a mistake. So what do you do if you score the wrong shooter? So what we're going to do is click this shooter, and you notice it comes up with a review screen. You see edit, reset, reassign. So this particular shooter was actually a different shooter. So what we're going to do is click the reassign button, then click reassign this score. we're going to find the shooter because it could be any of the shooters. So for this example, we'll use myself. This was Aaron. That was on stage 1. And it's going to ask you, do you really want to do this? But you notice I made a mistake. I did one really quickly, and it says stage 1 to Aaron Haynes, on stage 2, proceed. Something really, really to be cautious about because I went kind of quick. So I'm going to hit cancel. I'm going to reassign again, reassign this score. I'm going to find Aaron. I'm going to click stage 1. Now notice it says stage 1 to stage 1. So we're going to say do it. So now we're going to click the back button, top left as always. You'll notice that Aaron Haynes still has a score and Herberto still has a score. How can that be? Well, it's a computer software. So what we're going to do is going to go to Herberto, hit reset. Now we reset his scores. And now shows Herberto is not completed. Pretty complex, a lot of things to do. It's easy to do. Simple thing is don't make mistakes, but it's going to happen. If you don't feel comfortable doing that, take a picture, write the scores down, because if you're not sure what happened, it's hard to go back. They have to do a reshoot. So let's go through and complete the entire section so we can see the next stage. So Patrick Lamb, he's going to do this in 366. I'm going to change the mode back over to the quick, what I call the quick mode, because he shot really well. It's with all nothing but zeros. He's hitting approve. Mr. Mixon came in. He did it in 636. Again, he shot really well, nothing but zeros. And we're doing this quickly because I want to show you what happens next. I wish I was a better video editor. I could do this better because I could do a stop time. So notice, okay, on Questo, when I click them, it brings up this screen. Why? Because if you notice down here, it has a score history. This does show us what we had him in previously. So we're just going to hit reset edit, and then we're going to do his real time for this stage. And as we get into these 3 shooters right here, you're going to see this because I was playing with this a little bit earlier just to get myself refreshed. And looks like I might have reset it pretty well. So it didn't pop up. So we're on the last shooter, which is great. And you notice it doesn't matter the order, as long as you enter the data. So your squad is now complete. You now have times next to everybody. Sometimes that's easy to see, sometimes it's not to see. So when you're done with that squad, please confirm that everybody has a time. Then you can go back to choose your next squad that comes in. And if you'll notice over on the top right, it shows you how many were complete. So if you see green and 9 out of 9, that squad's done. There's no issues. We like to see green. So this next squad comes in, and let's just say Christina Baker didn't show up. She's not here. She missed for the day. It's in your tablet. We're going to click on her. Then we're going to come down here and say DNF. It says, are you sure you want to DNF her? Yes. She shows the DNF. You hit review. She's not there, so you're going to have to hit approve. You'll notice that it's now a DNF. There's a color code for everything. So James Shakarov comes in, and unfortunately, you know, somebody knocked off James's gun, and he needs to be DQ'd because his gun fell within the range, and that's it. So we're going to hit DQ. So actually want to disqualify the shooter, you say yes. Typically they don't want to press that button themselves, so just do it for them. Hit approve, and now you'll notice they have DNF and DQs. And then from that you'll proceed to score up all the rest of the shooters. At the end of the day, as you go back, if you try to go back before you finish it, you can leave the squad or stay and fix it. We're just going to say leave the squad so I can go back. You'll notice that squad is incomplete. So if you see red when you leave a squad, it means you either missed somebody or somebody didn't show up, and I would ask that you DNF them. If you ever need to go back for any other reason, this is how you can go. So a lot of people ask about, hey, I want to see my score, I want to see my points down, I want to see everything. A lot of people go into, let me find the squad that they were on, one that had scores, let me go in and click them. You could do that and it shows you the points down, but there's a possibility of making a mistake. If you hit that reset edit button by accident, they're gone, the scores are gone. So what we're going to do is go back until you see local score logs. And if you click that, there's nothing that can happen bad here on this screen. So down here, if you click Lee Adams, it's going to tell you the date and the time, it's the stage. Then, in a nice little format, it's going to tell you everything in text without editing anything at all. It's just clear as day. If they have a problem, we can adjust it. So that's pretty much an overview of how to do the scoring. If you'll notice, things here are grayed out. So if I click Shooters Squads, it's going to ask for a password. We mainly do this so you guys are protected against making accidental mistakes. These other screens can kind of do a lot of stuff. For score entry, you have white, ignore the synced devices, ignore the matches. If you click matches, you could actually change a match. You wouldn't want to do that. And for this one, it's a training sample. And then sync devices, if you guys see things on wireless, you could be syncing from other devices, and we just don't want you to do that either. So enter scores is where you're going to live. It's going to be locked to your stage. Find your squad. Enter your time. Auto decimal helps depending on the type of stage you're working. One of the two different toggle entries will work best for you. You can change them pretty quickly between the two. So if you have one, you like a lot of zeros and all of a sudden they're down a lot, it happens. And the same thing happens, actually I apologize, they changed this. So the hits and the non-threatened procedurals will be plus or minus regardless of what's hit. So that's the kind of a review. Hopefully the guys have answered any questions, and if you have any more, just shout us out via email. Thanks.